What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Conversation Corner. On this episode, we're here today with someone who's typically behind the camera, but today he's in front of it. We're here with Mr. Mvrco. How's it going, sir?
It is going super well. Thanks for reaching out to me. I'm super excited for this conversation, man.
There's so many different things to your artistry, whether it be the behind the camera work or it be the actual music side of it. I think I want to start with the behind the camera work.
Sure.
How did you get into being a creative director or someone who does videography and all that?
Yeah, so to make like a longer story short, so I've been doing or dabbling in the creative field when it comes to cameras and stuff since I was about 12 years old. I had a close friend of mine at that time that was working on his first feature film, like directing the whole thing, and he had me assist him and help him out with a lot of it. So like grip work or, extra camera angle or lighting, like that, any of that kind of stuff. And then after that, him and I kind of started doing a little bit more work together. Like I helped him out with doing videography for like a wedding and like different stuff like that. And then as well, one of my cousins, she's a professional photographer. She like specializes now in like maternity and like newborn stuff. But when I was growing up, like in that age range, like 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, she was doing just about everything. So like, whether that was just like regular portraits or weddings, stuff like that. So like there's always kind of been like a camera around, and I've been able to like see and watch people in like that process like since I was little. And even further than that, something that I was talking about with some of my family and my parents was that even like as a little kid, before even any of that, like I was always messing around with a camera. Like my parents were like reminded me, they were like, when you were like 6, 7 years old, like we had like the little digicam and you would make stop motion Lego videos with the digicam.
Crazy.
And I like didn't even remember any of that. That was like memory unlocked. I was like, wait a minute, you're so right. I've been doing this for a long time. So that's like the where I guess the inspiration comes from. And then in high school, I took media production, and I just really took a liking to it. It felt natural to me. A lot of like videography stuff, a lot of sports videography, and like that kind of stuff. A little bit of like journalism, as well with all of that kind of stuff. And then like my senior year, I was like the student head of the media production program at my school. So I was doing a lot. So all of that kind of led me to doing everything. So, I interned for the government doing federal yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So right after I graduate high school, I landed an internship with the federal government for the federal news. So I was doing like video editing for like news packages and radio edits and stuff like that for all of that. And then that was, I think, really where I like started to like hone like my video editing skills, even though it's not super creative, but still like the workflow of even like the programs and all of that kind of stuff is where I think I really started to like learn everything. And then after that, I end up volunteering at my church doing all that kind of stuff. I end up getting on staff for a little while, doing all of that, not as the creative director, but doing a lot of creative direction, a lot of the social media management, all that kind of stuff. And that kind of just led me here. So that's like the really, really brief but complete story for all of that.
Amazing. And you said you started serving at your church in this capacity.
Yeah.
But how did you get into Christian hip hop specifically? Who was the first connection into Christian hip hop?
So, my first connection within the Christian hip hop space was KC. He's an Atlanta rapper. He used to do like opium stuff. You know who I'm talking about? He did No Problems. It went super viral with DJ Mike LV. Yeah, so he was my first one, and that was because while I was on staff at my church, we had a youth event. Like it's called Souls Fest, and we had a youth event going on, and it's like music festival, like concert kind of a thing. So like it was like, a worship session, a whole teaching, and then like a concert at the end. And my first year on staff, we had Casey come out. So he was my first like real connection and the first person that took a chance on me with like anything. Like I did a cover art for him. I've done like a couple reels for him and stuff like that. So like he was the first person that took a chance on me in that regard of like letting me show people my skill set in that regard, because obviously, you know, videography and editing and all that kind of stuff for like a church is very different than like, like promotional reels or anything like that for performances. And then ironically, at that same event was actually when I first met Caden Jordan through JR, because JR was the opener for that. So I ended up actually meeting Caden through that because JR and him had a song that they performed together at that event.
Dang. And was that the most recent song that they did specifically?
No, it was a while ago. It was it Drop? It was Drop. Yeah, that was like 2024.
That's mixtape era.
Yeah.
Wow. That's 2023.
Like I said, 2023. So that was that. And but what's really cool is that, so like we met each other then, but like we didn't really like connect at that time. It was just kind of like we just met each other very briefly the day of, and that was it. And then a year later then is when I really connected with Caden and started working with him.
Something else that's really amazing about your story is you ended up as the creative director for Aliens Alive. How does that happen? I asked Caden the very similar thing, like, how did he get the conversation with Rodney Jerkins? But what was your conversation like?
Caden gave me a layup.
Mm.
Caden gave me a layup. Like it was that. It was literally, I wish there was like a crazier story, cooler story, but it was literally like there was a graphic on the TV here in the studio that was like outdated, and Rodney was just like, man, where's the new one? Do we even have a new one? And Caden was like, hey, you know that Mvrco does all that stuff, right? That was it.
Wow.
That was it.
And by the way, Mvrco was spitting bars too because Caden currently has a basketball right now. So he was talking about yep, insane.
Hey, yo,
yeah.
come on, boy.
Yes, sir. Man, no, that's just incredible. And getting into your artistry now.
Yeah.
You came out with this project recently called Made New. One of my favorite projects of the year. It's like you have a very cinematic feel to your music. Is that intentional when you're pouring into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When I was watching your reaction to the project, like I was laughing because there was a lot of stuff that like is very intentional about the project, that it was nice to see someone that like is kind of like outside of like my creative bubble, like be able to like listen to the project and like pick up on a lot of those things. So obviously, like, the videography and the creative direction is a very big part of like who I am and what I do and like how I like see everything. So like the very like grandiose feeling tracks, like with a lot of like the strings, like the very like dramatic like drums and stuff, especially like in like the intro track and like a lot of like the intros and the outros to the different songs. It does come from that.
And who are some of your inspirations musically when you were making this project?
Man, so the funny thing about this project is that it wasn't even supposed to be a full-length album. It was supposed to be like a 5-track EP, and the main inspiration originally, or like what I was like very much like tapped into or tuned into at that time, was actually John Keith's project that he put out like right after Eremos. I'm not sure if it was like a throwaway project or not, but it was the
So Lonely, right?
So Lonely, yeah, the Eremos story. That project is super influential to like a lot of like the sounds that were on there, because it was a lot of like very like cold, dystopian, but very like digital and distorted like textures in that, and I think that you can kind of like see a lot of that throughout the project. And then as far as like other influences to the actual sound of the project, I would say is funny enough, because I just finished doing some stuff and I'm wearing the shirt, but Holland and the Weathermen, not specifically like Holland because she's like very like pop R&B, so like not specifically in her like vocal delivery, but in like the Weatherman production. Like I've been following like their music and like everything that they've like produced and stuff for like a while since the beginning, and they also have like a lot of like experimental like cold textures like historically. Obviously they've like, it's not all the way that for like the, you know, the projects that they've done with Holland, but like a lot of like the hip hop records that they have done, I feel like there's a consistency of, again, like very experimental like cold weird textures. And like the vision that I had like for the project as far as like sonically was to create something that felt fresh by like going like extra experimental and like abstract with like a lot of the production.
I definitely hear it, especially when you're saying So Lonely. I think about tracks like Levitate. Like, I feel like I hear it, like I'm starting to hear it. It's starting to make more sense. One of my personal favorite tracks off of Made New, though, is Honest. I love this track so much. What was the story behind that track?
Man, that one, what's crazy is that one wasn't even like a track that I spent a lot of time doing. So that track specifically was like, I was late. It was a late night in the studio with my dog, Sam, who did vocals on the title track Made New, Samu. So I was in the studio late night with him, and we were like about to wrap up, and we were just like trying to figure out like some different tracks, some different feelings. Because something interesting that I think, I'm not sure how many other artists do it, but I guess since you talk about like my creative direction and how that influences like my music and like the album specifically, I like in a sense almost like storyboarded the whole project out before even like writing a single thing. Like I came up with like the whole storyline for the entire project and like the way that I wanted it to go, like down to like, okay, this is what this track, like the theme for this track needs to be. Like track number 3 needs to be this theme. This one needs to be that. So we were just like there were still like, I want to say like 3 tracks that we needed to do for the album, but I was kind of like, I don't even want to like make a specific, like, I don't want to make a song that's specific to one of the tracks. Like, let's just like make something and see what kind of like happens where it fits. And we obviously like there's a lot of like minimalism like throughout the album as well, and there's not a lot of like traditional like trap production. So I was like getting like really tired of like doing like a lot of like the ethereal stuff, whatever, and a lot of like the cinematic stuff. Like I wanted to make something that felt like a little bit more like not mainstream, but just a little bit more like traditionally like trap production, with like the drums or whatever. So I was like, so I told Sam, I was like, let's make something that is still in the world of like, it feels like floaty and like dreamy and surreal, but like the drums have to be tight. Drums have to be tight. So did that. Me and Sam laid down some like reference vocals, some scat tracks. I went home with it, just like listening to it all the way home. And then when I got home and sat in my bed, I literally just like threw my headphones in and started like writing to it. And the song was done. I want to say it like the writing process, like the whole track was done, I want to say in like 40 minutes or 45 minutes. So like the reason why like a lot of like that song is one of my favorites. So I think that it's really cool that like that you mentioned that one, because I feel like that's like a sleeper pick. Is like the reason why the flows in that song feel very like chaotic, like you were talking about, like this one is super unpredictable, is because we laid down like three tracks that all were like wildly different and then like meshed them all together, which is why like the flows are kind of like all over the place.
And the thing that I love about that, honestly, the melody on that hook is legitimately like, I swear that I think about that melody every single day, because I've been all alone lately. I've been all like, I don't know. I just can't stop thinking about that joint. You know, you also have some more music on the way this year, and our group chat be talking about the gatekeeping. Ben be talking about the gatekeeping. So speak to that. What do you got coming up on the pipeline?
I haven't said anything or whatever, but it'll be the Josh Review Corner exclusive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do have a summer EP on the way.
Let's go.
I do have a summer EP on the way. I think I only need to do one more track, and if not, all of them are done, and it just needs to be all of the tracks need to be mixed and mastered. But I have a song on there that is It's got some stacked features. That's all I'm gonna say.
We'll leave it at that, man. Marco, thank you so much for inviting me up here, man.
No, absolutely.
This has been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming through again. Thank you for listening through the project, keeping up with everything. It means a lot to me. And again, to see like the reaction and to see you like be picking up on like the storyline of the project, like that to me was like, oh man, like it wasn't for nothing. Like, you know, so like just seeing people like be able to enjoy the art, not that it like validates, right? Because it's like I know that it's a great project, and I know that some songs on there are very good, but like to see other people that are like outside of your bubble be able to like sit down and enjoy it and like understand it without it having to be explained is like super awesome. So like thank you, and thank you for all you do for like the space, like you know, reacting to different guys, reviewing the different songs and stuff, even like interviews like this. Like what you're doing is like super necessary, bro.
Man, thank you so much. This has been Josh's Review Corner. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.